Hello, everybody. It's Andrew Bermudez over at DigZ. I'm here with my really good friend, Alan Buchanan, who you all know in the social media sphere for being one of the most amazing commercial real estate people in the world. I used to be at Lee & Associates Irvine. You've been at Lee & Associates Orange, Anaheim. I don't even know what they call it these days, but you've always just been, really progressive, thinking outside the box. It's really benefited your business. You've used social media, you've used blogging. A lot of people don't do it. It's still kind of like this mystery on how you market yourself online, and it's working for Alan, wasn't working for me. An interesting thing, and you asked me a little bit earlier before this, is, Andrew, why so many videos lately? And I had answered, I'm going, hey, you know what? I wanted to do them really well and perfect, but we just don't have the time, so it's really easy to fire one up on your phone and even have it transcribed and then just post it on the social media networks, and you stay in front of your audience. So for us, being a free listing service for commercial real estate, our audience is yourself, brokers, property owners, managers, etc. For yourself, you've got building owners who is your target audience, you've got brokers as well, you've got that. The interesting thing, though, that you did was it 2013?
2013, yes.
That you started video. By the way, that's before anybody started using video, guys. Like he is the prodigy on this. So kudos. That's so cool that you did that. But some people would say that those Tuesday traffic tips, which is the campaign of your videos, are geared more towards brokers.
Correct.
And some people might say, well, why are you marketing toward brokers when your business is really just trying to find a building owner who may want to sell or lease a building, or a tenant looking for space, etc. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, and you did a great job in one of your recent videos outlining why we as fellow brokers actually should prospect to other brokers. And when I created the Tuesday traffic tips, and if you've seen them, they're all about brokerage tips that can enhance your practice. And someone asked me one time, gee, why do you give away your tips, your secrets? And the way I look at it is, number one, if I can share a tip that helps the community be better as a result, then good for that. Number two, it builds a tremendous amount of credibility and visibility within the commercial real estate brokerage community. And I've had that play out a couple of times where I've been talking to someone in a completely different area than the area I work, and they say, hey, are you the guy that does those Tuesday traffic tips? So it works. And really the last reason I did it is because we get so focused on trying to find an occupant or an owner that wants to do a real estate deal, and we don't think about our fellow brokers. And frankly, our fellow brokers end up being a customer as well as an owner or an occupant. And what I mean by that is, if you market to brokers, if they know who you are, if they know of your credibility, if they know of your reputation, your ethics, what have you, they're much more apt to cooperate with you. And cooperation is such a huge key in our business, especially in a tight market where maybe you're competing against 2 or 3 other requirements for the same building. If that broker knows you through a video tip or knows you through another transaction, they're going to be much more willing to do business with you. So I just believe that you really have to focus a lot on your relationship with other brokers.
So I'm going to pull the thread on that a little bit, simply because this is something that sounds good, but it's actually played out in my career, and I 100% agree. The industrial market, for example, here in Orange County is super tight, right? There, for every 100 buildings, there's maybe one building that's available, and there's a ton of requirements out there. So these relationships that you're creating via video, you're reaching out people, you're developing credibility. By the time even if you've never talked to the person, let's say the broker, there's this instant connection with you.
Correct.
Right? Because of the Tuesday traffic tips. Maybe they tried something that you suggested, and now it's sort of like there's a pay it forward type scenario, right? So you reach out to this broker, you find out that this is the one building that works for your client, but it's the only building and there's 5 different requirements. So if I understand correctly, that relationship goes a long way, and the way it's played out for me, and correct me if it's the same or if there's different advantages that you've experienced, but has been, let's say I'm the third offer, my offer on behalf of my client is the third offer on the table, But because I have this relationship with this broker, maybe I did him a favor and took his offer, on a building before, or maybe, we just trade, we just share trade secrets, right? Like
Sure.
what you're doing. There's sort of this connection and this relationship, and they might kind of guide you and say, you know what, to beat these other offers, here's what you got to do. But now you're actually able to complete a transaction. You make your client happy, and at the same time, you're able to cash in that commission, which
Right.
That puts food on the table as well.
And presumably do what's best for the other broker's client as well.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And is that how it's played out? Is that one of the benefits? What other benefits do you see?
No, and that's absolutely the way it's played out. And I will say that works once. And if you get a shot, and I think about a deal that I did earlier in the year where there were literally 4 offers on the table. Ours was the 5th. And I had known this broker for a number of years and had been able to keep in touch with him because we weren't talking once a month or something like that. Was able to keep in touch with him. He saw Tuesday traffic tips. He was aware of them. He knew. He also reads my articles in the Orange County Register. So there's this whole visibility thing. And we got a shot. Now, we had to make sure that once we got the shot, we performed as we said we would be able to perform. And it absolutely positively works that way.
Yeah. So we had talked about something earlier, and it's this new trend that is slowly appearing, and I don't even think it's on brokers' radars yet. It's something that we use here at Digsy, and it's video prospecting,
right?
Video follow-up, and things like that. There's a few tools out there, like, I just showed you a little bit ago, Loom, Loom.
Right.
That's a free tool. So basically, I can share my screen, it can just be me, and then I can record this little video, and I can just basically insert, just with a click, it'll paste a thumbnail in the email. So I can say, hey, Alan, good seeing you, and there's a video right there that you click and they can view. And along the lines of video, I'll tell you this, I've used it personally to reach out to prospects, and I've landed some pretty big accounts. Now that I'm sort of moving away from any sales stuff, because I'm the CEO of the company, now that I found out it works, and our team's taken over, and we don't encourage, we demand that when they're interacting with prospects, they do use GoToMeeting to see video.
Sure.
We also use this video email prospecting tools and things like that. So along the lines of video, you're one of the unique brokers that I know that works entirely out of their iPad, which
right.
I am jealous. But I wish I could do that. It's cool. I'm just jealous because you're way more progressive and techy than I am, and I run a tech company. But in terms of video prospecting, I know that you haven't tried it, but you have experimented with video since Tuesday Traffic Tips. People see you. You're published on the OC Register, which is great. I love reading those columns that you have. At the same time, you blog. What are your thoughts about, when you're reaching out from, let's say, your iPad to a potential building owner or somebody you want to do business with, if you put a video in the email? Do you think that this trend is going to, for those who embrace it, it's going to be beneficial for them? What are your thoughts on that?
I do. And you'd asked me specifically about video prospecting, and the way I envision the video prospecting is someone you've never met. And so you're sending them a little link with your face, with the way you speak. Obviously, emails, tweets, anything of that nature is static. Anything containing text is static, whereas a video is contextual and you can actually see and listen to the person talking. But the way I've used video, and I've done it quite extensively, is recent deal. The sellers were out of state, and they were in 6 different locations. Believe it or not, there were 6 sellers, 6 different locations.
In this LLC.
And what we were able to do is we were able to loop them all in via a Zoom conference call. And so we were able to give our presentation as though we were sitting at the end of a conference table with them. They were able to ask questions, they could see our facial expressions, they could see all of our marketing collateral, and it worked great. Another way I've used it is I use FaceTime extensively.
On your iPhone?
On my iPhone or my iPad.
Okay.
If I'm out and about and previewing a building and I think it's perfect, call you up, hey Andrew, you got time for a quick FaceTime call, and let me flip the screen around and show you what I believe would be.
So this is your client that you're calling. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great.
So you're touring him the building.
Touring him the building
on demand.
On demand. Another way I've used it is a slight variation of the FaceTime would be take a short snippet video of the building as you're walking through it. Hey, here's what, check out the power panel. It's got ESFR sprinklers. Look at the 150-foot truck radius, what have you. And you can create a little YouTube video and send that to the client. I made a $7.5 million deal using that technique recently.
You're kidding.
No, and it was literally, I said, hey, I may be on the wrong track here, but help me out. Here's what I'm seeing. Let me know what you think. And he was actually able to experience the building before physically driving down to take a look at it. Yeah. So those are a few of the ways that I've used video to enhance my practice, if you will.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I had no idea that you were doing these FaceTime tours, calling your client. I mean, that really sets you apart from the competition.
Well, and it's neat too, because when you think about it, what we do is a very visual profession.
Yeah.
Right. It's fine to look at static pictures, but when you can see those pictures in real life, especially when you've got out-of-area clients that had a client sold a building to in Riverside, and they're located in New York City, and they literally did not see the building. They looked at it via FaceTime video and made an offer based on that. Now, subsequently, they came out and looked at it, but their initial reaction was based on a FaceTime video.
So this video practice that you're doing is completely accelerating the transaction time.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're able to
Because think about it. The guy in New York, right? And it was a sizable requirement. So he's in New York City. Hey, can you come see the building? Sure, let me check on airline flights. Well, I can't do it next week, so it'll be the following week. Meanwhile, you've missed the buying window.
Yeah.
So if you can compress that buying window so that they can make a decision based on, they haven't touched and felt it, but they've seen it enough that they can make a decision.
Right. That's fantacular.
Yeah.
Fantacular.
Fantacular.
It's fantastic and spectacular at the same time.
Exactly.
Wow. That's amazing. So you're using video to accelerate the, not only accelerate, but ensure that you're able to not miss an opportunity or miss a deal for your client.
Right.
What other opportunities do you see, like with video, let's say on listings, like if you're on the marketing end, if you've got the listing, what are there opportunities with videos? One other thing is videos can be a lot of time and effort and production costs, and editing a video, putting it on YouTube is intimidating for a lot of people, right?
Unless you do it in the front seat of your car, and then it's not so
And
tough.
I started doing that. Remember, I was saying, why so many videos lately?
Right.
And it's because I felt this this friction where, our team's slammed right now. I'm working till like 1 a.m. And, I can't demand more work from my team, like, hey, edit this video. So, I borrowed a page from your book. And I just started saying, hey, let's record in my car, let's record it here at the office, when I'm at lunch, and then just upload it. Don't worry about titles or anything else.
Right.
And then just put it in the social networks. And it's been fantastic that I can just do this on my mobile device. I can just do it on my iPhone. But
one of my friends, sorry to interrupt, but one of my friends in the business that I met through, we have the same coach, Rod Santomassimo.
Oh yeah, Rod's awesome.
And his name's Matthew Laborde, and he's out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I love, by the way, Matthew, I love your stuff on Twitter and the social networks. And I did see your video with Matt.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The Gary Vaynerchuk of commercial real estate.
Yeah.
But he's taken it to a whole new level. And although he doesn't know that he's doing this, the reason I started blogging and doing video is my wife came home from Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, where she got an advanced degree in 2010, and she said, you need to start working out loud. And I said, I don't have any idea what you mean by that. She goes, the things that you do every day, building tours, negotiating leases, purchase and sale agreements, those are all content that you need to be creating so that those create the digital footprint, so that when someone's looking to buy a building, transact a piece of real estate, they see your content and they can respond accordingly. So this whole concept of work out loud became my credo. Well, Matthew has taken that to a whole new level. So what Matthew does is when he's reviewing a comp set on his computer, he has someone video it. When he goes out on a building tour, he has someone video it. When he had this whole neat little series called Intern Questions. He had an intern last summer, and this young man would ask a zillion questions, and they would snip it into segments, and so there'd be a question and an answer. He videos interviews like this as an example, and he breaks that into bite-sized pieces so that it's not a 10-minute video, but it's maybe 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, and he titles them and what have you, and those go to the social media channels. So it's a great practice to create content. I create 2 pieces a week. One is my blog, and one is my Tuesday traffic tip video. But from those 2 pieces of content, we then slice and dice that and send that to about 20 different areas. So that you might see a blog that becomes an Orange County Register article that becomes a Pulse blog. You might see a Tuesday traffic tip that becomes a snippet here. You might see this video that we're doing sliced and diced and segmented into different social channels. So just think in terms of who your audience is and how you can reuse content. That's what Matthew's done very effectively.
Now, I know, for example, Coy Davidson, and big shout out to you, Coy, and yourself. You guys have been blogging for a long time, and
right.
I know Coy and yourself have actually generated some transactions off of that.
Massive amounts. I don't know what Coy's done, but I did the math on mine, and it's in the mid 6 figures in terms of commission dollars. And this is not puff. This is not bragging. This is real.
All right. So we're talking about the blog itself, and you've generated some very sizable commission dollars off of it.
From my entire social media
right.
efforts, not just blogging.
And how long does it take you to write a blog post?
Depends on what the topic is. I wrote one this morning, and it took me about an hour because I dissected the recent stadium deal that Anaheim and the Angels made, and so it took me a while because I wanted to research some things. And if it's a stream of consciousness, top of mind blog, I could generally knock it out in a half an hour.
Yeah.
But with something like that requires some research, hour and a half is
that's still very efficient for an hour and a half. When I've personally written some of our blog posts, we don't crank them out that quick. I think it probably takes 2 hours, and that's not including the research time. So
right.
You're a ninja. That's great.
Well,
and what
I don't know. I think too often we fall into that whole perfection bias where we tend to say, "Gosh, if it's not perfect, I'm not going to put it out there."
Well, we're talking about this,
right?
Like, why are you doing the videos so much?
Sure.
Lately? And that's been the big friction point. Is we haven't been doing the videos because we want to make them professional. We're a professional
right.
company, but then we realize that you just gotta work out loud, I guess.
Right.
That's a great tip.
And professional comes in lots of different choices. In other words, it can be the most amazing production ever, and if what you're saying is garbled, compare that to a brilliant message that's delivered on a very, call it, unprofessional video basis. I'll take the professional message anytime.
Yeah, so Rod's been great about this. Like, he'll be jogging,
sure,
recording some videos, and he just puts out great content.
He does.
And that's Rod Santomassimo from the Massimo Group.
Hey, Rod.
So I love Rod. Hey, Rod. Don't forget to send me that information about your free webinar that you guys are doing. So as far as the topics you blog about, how do you do research? Are you doing like what these other people do, like keyword research to make sure that you get a lot of traffic volume, or is it just something that is a problem? Like, how do you come up with the topics you're going to blog about?
So my videos are all geared toward brokers. So that's brokerage advice, and it can be as simple as a deal I'm working on and a challenge that arose, or as complicated as a methodology, right? The blogs that I do are geared specifically for owners and occupants of industrial real estate in Southern California. Now, some of the topics can be translated into other parts of the country because industrial is industrial is industrial. But those are typically things that I'm experiencing in my day-to-day transactions. And then I put those in words because, once again, if you're working out loud. So then, as an example, topic could be, what steps do you take to locate an industrial building for a client, as an example. And if you're careful in the way you write that, and now you've got written contact that's in a container someplace. Mine happens to live on Blogspot. And so now if I'm talking to you and you say, well, gee, can you outline your process for me? Let me do this for you. Let me send you a link to my process, and you can take a look, discuss it with your team, and those kinds of things. So those are the ways that it sort of folds through. But your inbox is a great source of content creation. Think about what you're working on today, and think about, could more than one client benefit from what you're working on today?
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
So along the lines of, let's say, working out loud, and you've amplified that significantly with you being, one of the writers at the Orange County Register. Questions: how did that come about, and how it's helped your business to put those columns together? So
the Orange County Register came about. There was a young lady named Jan Norman who used to write about local companies, and I love her to death. She's in Dallas, Texas now. She retired, but she'd write about companies in Orange County, and I found that a lot of the folks she was writing about were folks that I'd like to be introduced. And so I started calling them, and this is back in 2009, 2010, when the market had a bit of an adjustment. And I'd say, look, Alan Buchanan saw your article, would love to come and learn a little bit more about your business. Sounds like you have a very interesting way you do things. And they instantly agree to a meeting, and they take the call because it was about them. And I went and learned about a lot of different companies. Well, in the process of that, I called Jan and I said, I write about these companies similar, or I represent companies similar to the ones that you write about, and I would love to maybe talk about some sort of a collaboration. So she and I collaborated on 2 or 3 stories. And I said, look, I write this blog, and I'd love to get some feedback, and maybe this becomes a weekly feature. The timing wasn't right. So I had that conversation probably a dozen times through 4 different editors. But what really was, what kicked it off, if you will, is there was a gala for the top 100 companies in Orange County. Lee & Associates was up for one of those spots. So we were at the gala, and I was tweeting about things that were happening. And the MC came and he says, who is this Alan Buckingham? Well, I got my name wrong, but I said, that'd be me. And it was room packed with probably 400 people. And he said, well, your tweets are starting to trend on Twitter. And so a couple of the editors started following me, and then that led to one of them contacting me saying, hey, we need some help on a story. And the next thing you know, here we go. So,
that's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
And that's persistent since 2009. And when did you start?
2015. So it took 6 years, 4 different editors, lots of diligence. But I just had a sense that, what I was producing on the blog would be helpful to their readers, and it's turned out to be very helpful. And your question about has it resulted in any dollars? It absolutely has. I have done deals specifically from folk calling and saying, hey, I saw your column about tax deferred exchanges. I'm in that situation. What can you do to help me?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And just the eyeballs you get. And I think one of the most important things that I think that our community, the commercial real estate community, doesn't realize is how much authority you gain by, being, let's say, a writer for a column, or having a blog, or doing these videos and being in front of people. Sometimes, some brokers are afraid of doing videos or blogging because they think they're going to be made fun of, and who knows? Maybe there are people who make fun.
And
maybe
exactly.
Look at
Maybe some people
Bermudez,
do. Yeah.
But then all of a sudden they go, okay, well, I know them, I see them, I've read about them. I know that, tax deferred exchanges, Alan Buchanan's the guy. It's not like I'm gonna go and do a Google search and look at a directory of everybody at Collier, CBRE, et cetera, and randomly pick somebody, right? It's the efficiency of, okay, I know that person's an authority figure, they're an expert in their market, let me just pick up the phone and call them. So it saves people a lot of time in making sure that they have the right person. Great, so I want to make sure we don't make this video too long, Alan, but some parting thoughts that I'd like to go over are, what do you think that the number one missed opportunity that our community is missing from, let's say, marketing channels? We've been talking about video, social media, blogging, etc. What do you think the number one thing that if you were sitting in a room with our entire community would advise them, like, you need to do this? What would that one thing be?
Fanatical prospecting.
Yeah, we've talked about this book, right?
Fanatical prospecting. The author's name is Jeb Blount, Blount. My Massimo coach actually told me about it, and I finally bought it. I'd never bought an audio book in my life, and I bought it, and now I'm hooked. Every time I drive from point A to point B, I'm listening to an audio book. But it's a huge missed opportunity. Now, here I am, 62 years old. I've been in the business for 35 years, and I've made more prospecting calls in the past 12 months than I probably made in the past 10 years. And just that, and you have to have a system. You have to be systematic about it. You don't just blindly call. Your call needs to have a, what do I know? What do I want to know? What's my objective? And what's the next step? Those 4 elements. But if you're diligent about your call having those 4 elements, you'll be amazed. And it's not used enough, in my opinion, especially by veterans in the commercial real estate business. They don't prospect.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll, in this video, either in the description or above, if it's on the social media channels, on the tweet or the post itself, I'll go ahead and link them to Fanatical Prospecting, so you've got access to that.
Yeah,
book.
He's written about 6 or 8 sales books, and they're all, I've completed one, I'm about halfway through another, and they're wonderful. I would highly recommend grab them if you're in the sales business.
So there's actually, I'm going to give a shout out to Scott Ingram. So Scott Ingram runs Top 1 FM. He has this incredible podcast called Sales Success Stories. And what he does is he interviews these top salespeople, the top 1%. So he's interviewed people who've closed gigantic deals at Microsoft, at I think Blue Jeans, and all these different companies. It's not necessarily just tech. They have a company that does, for example, Cutco like type stuff, like the knives.
Right.
But there are so many gems that you find out of, like, how they were able to become the number one salesperson in their organization. I'll send you the link for that. Please. And I'll also link it in the description. Yeah. That's a podcast you want to listen to.
Indeed.
It's fantastic. Well, Alan, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always great seeing you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun conversation.
Yeah, totally. So we'll let you guys go, and check us out. GetDigsy.com, and please make sure to visit Alan Buchanan. They can reach you on Twitter. What's your handle?
It's at Alan C. Buchanan, ALENCBUCHANAN.
And your blog
is AlanCBuchanan.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Alan, thank you for making the time again.
Thanks again, Andrew.
And we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.